At the end, I think you showed an incredible sort of self-awareness when you challenged John Joseph, saying, "Are you not just seeking the next challenge? Is it not just time for just peace?" Like, yes, you felt great and elated, but the next time you might not feel as good as the first time, and it sort of cottons on from that. I see the main difference with sort of the addiction of something negative as something positive is with this addiction, like what you had with heroin or alcohol or whatever, it can be destructive after. You do it and you feel good during it, and then the destruction comes after. Whereas I think the difference with something like that is you train and you suffer beforehand, and then the feeling good comes after. It's the other, it's sort of flipped, and so you have to earn the feeling good. And I wonder if that's a distinction you notice.
That's a really interesting point. Because it was a natural question. I mean, you meet this Ironman community, and they're amazing people, and there's so much support there. I mean, all those people.
How was
cheering.
the atmosphere?
Oh, it's just amazing.
It was emotional, just because when you know what it's like, people cheering for miles
cheering you.
and miles.
They can see your first name on the bibs. They're calling you out. And in the run, the run was really painful. My stomach hurt so much, and my hamstrings were cramping up. And I had these adults trying to high five me, and I was just like, "Get the fuck out of my way." But then there was this 9-year-old kid in a wheelchair with muscular dystrophy holding the hand up, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Give me some of that." And so just so much support, and they have themes and music, and so that the community is amazing. But you also see that the community is full of a lot of recovering addicts. And then you have to ask that question. Maybe it's because of my job. I ask that question, is this another addiction? But I mean, you make an interesting point. If you I think the bad addictions, and maybe the addiction people could tell me on that stuff, is where bad, whatever that means, is where, you pay for it afterwards. But it also goes back to that Gabor Mate discussion I had. Did people like Gabor Mate? He rocks the orange jumper like nobody's business, right?
He was cool, man.
He's a deep dude, and he says, you using was the only thing you could do at that point because you had no way out. And this is a great message from this movie. I was a smart guy. I had resources. I had intelligence. And I couldn't get myself out of this little box because I didn't understand how to fix me. So the only way to do it was to use. Because I didn't understand this trauma and I couldn't look at it from a different angle. So it's a question to ask, and about this addictive thing that is IronMind.
It's a very good question. And it makes you almost feel a bit guilty then for doing it. But actually, you've got to try different experiences as you're going through and just enjoy each one and notice when you become too attached to one thing as you're out. Everything, I've said it to you before, everything we do is medicine. So if you're abusing one medicine, then maybe try a new one. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to watch yourself, And I had to ask John that question and a few other harder questions. So, just kind of examine that whole behavior. So, and he's on to the next one. But that got me here too, that addiction for goal seeking that I'm questioning got me here to all of this healing. It's much better than me just sitting around at home thinking or looking at the wall. So, I don't know the answer. I do think he's writing the next book. He's on tour. He's doing the next Ironman. And I'm the same. I'm worse. I mean, baby, I'm already making the next movie, and I can be really bad too, and I need to just make sure I try to watch that, or I'm back in the same situation.
Do you want to talk about the next movie now?
Yeah, I do want to say one thing about that last part with John, is that, I was speaking with my director, Luis, who isn't here. He's gutted, he's in Tokyo, and he's a big part of this movie. He makes all my movies with me, and he's incredible. And we check each other all the time. And I said, I owe John this one thing. And I read John's book. It's called The Evolution of a Cro-Magnon. It's an amazing book, and he does it in audio, and he does all the accents, and it's a riot.
Did you read it while you were cycling?
I listened to it actually before I got to New York, and so I knew a lot about him. And one thing that always bothered me was he had so much anger around this foster child situation. And in the book, he goes back to the home, and he finds the woman that ran the home and was just really cruel to him and allowed a lot of these bad behaviors happening from the other boys. Wow. And he confronts her, and he's really tough, and he gets in her face, and he yells at her, and he puts her down, and he scares the shit out of her and leaves. And I was like, this is so inconsistent with everything else about John. How come no one's ever asked him this? And I was like, Luis, I got to ask him. And he's like, Brian, don't ask him. He's like, that's going to be a rough conversation. He's going to be mad. And I was just like, that was the one thing I owed John for all the work he did. I owed asking him that hard question on the camera, just to see. And Bada Ryan, the guy from the Hare Krishna thing, saw that, and he said, Brian, I'm glad you asked that. And in time, we'll see if John processes that. And maybe he won't. Maybe his answer was the right answer. Maybe maybe there's a time not to forgive, you know.
Yeah, it did seem like he was holding on to that.
And you know, there's no real right answer, as you know. So that
Absolutely.
was a really interesting part, and we included it in the movie because a lot of people resonated with this whole kind of dichotomy of the human being, you know.
Yeah, you can't just switch it off, I guess. That's
yeah,
spiritual
and
as
it's
you can
honest
get.
of him.
Yeah, very
you know,
honest.
he could easily say, "I forgive them," and not. But
True.
John,
Yeah, he lives his truth very much.
yeah.